everybody. I am so excited that you are joining us in this wonderful experience of being able to talk to Wilson alumni that are either serving or have served in the past in the military. So today we have a super special guest for you, and I have Shayne with us. Would you take a moment, Shayne, and just introduce us? Tell us who you are, what you do, and where you're from.
Of course. I'm Chief Shayne Fossett. I grew up in Florence, Alabama. I went to Wilson High School, graduated in 2004. Been in the Navy for 17 years. It's been a long journey. Looking to do probably a few more years and retire and see where we end up after that. I'm currently stationed in California in a little town called Lemoore. It's just south of Fresno. So if you've ever been to California, it's probably not here. We're in the middle of farm country, so we're a majority of the world's food is grown is actually in the Central Valley where we're located. But it's a great place to be if you don't mind driving 2 or 3 hours to get to LA or San Francisco, the beach, the mountains, you name it. We have it all around here. So enjoying being here in California. Married, my wife Amy. We have 3 kids, and it's just I love being out here and being able to serve and give back. But definitely the military has given me a lot of cool things along the way as well.
I love that. So, is the military something you were always interested in, or had you thought about other career paths when you were in high school?
I thought about a lot of career paths. My family served. My father was in the Army, my mother, Air Force, aunts, uncles, all served in different branches. But yeah, growing up, I played, all sports there at Wilson: football, baseball, basketball. Went to college for a few years, tried to play baseball, just fell out of love with it for a while. And college just really wasn't for me. I went to college for a few years there at home at UNA, and it just that you're in school for your entire childhood, and then you keep going to school, and at some point I just felt like I needed to do something different, get out of town. Growing up in a smaller town, Florence, Zip City area, there's a lot of people, a lot of my family that have never really been out of Alabama. Yeah, they might go to the beach, but that's about it. And it's really cool to have um, been able to do that journey in the military. And once I went off to boot camp and started that journey, it's
So you mentioned that you went to college after high school. You mentioned that your mom was in the Air Force, dad in the Army. So how did you land on the Navy?
well. I told you I played a lot of sports growing up, and when I was starting to look into the different service branches, the Navy offered special programs. You can, EOD, diver, Navy SEAL, air career rescue swimmer. So I was like, well, I'm still pretty athletic and still run and do those things. So why not try to be a Navy SEAL? Um, so I went to boot camp, and the whole time training for Navy SEALs, I went to Buds training in San Diego. But again, there's a reason only so many people play major league sports. There's a reason there's only so many Navy SEALs in the world too. And I found out really quick that I wasn't cut out to be one of those people. So shortly after starting my SEAL training in San Diego, I decided to, get out and get a real job, as we say in the Navy.
So you mentioned that you love to play sports. Once you got into the Navy, went to boot camp, even your plan then changed a little bit too. So could you walk us through what your journey has been like from enlisting, going to boot camp, and then today where you are in California? Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that journey?
Absolutely. Yeah, I went to boot camp in 2007 up in Great Lakes, just outside of Chicago. Finished that up late fall, so right before the cold really hit Chicago. So it was really nice. and went to San Diego for the SEAL training. Stayed there for a few months. Like I said, realized that wasn't for me. They gave me a couple job opportunities out of there, and I chose to be an aviation uh, electronics technician. So basically, we work on radar and computers and radios, things like that, on the aircraft themselves and make sure they work properly. So they sent me to school for that. It's in Pensacola, Florida. And from there, I went to my first duty station after finishing my initial training at NAS Jacksonville, Florida. I worked on helicopters for 3 years, did my first deployment, deployed to the Middle East on the USS George H.W. Bush. Spent a couple months there before uh, on that deployment before transferring to my next duty station, which was NAS Fallon, Nevada, uh, which is about an hour outside of Reno. If you know the like Tahoe area, it's up there. It's beautiful, high desert. So a lot of open range opportunities. Being stationed there in Nevada is really cool because if you like to shoot guns or ride four wheelers or go fishing, hunting, like you can do all that up in the desert and nobody bothers you. It's really cool. And spent 3 years there, and I was working on. I told you I work on the aircraft, like
Mhm.
making sure the parts work there. When I worked in Fallon, it's what they call the intermediate level maintenance. So instead of fixing the actual aircraft parts, the bad parts from the aircraft were sent to us, and we had to fix them actually, like on a test bench. So that was more what I did there.
Yeah.
From there, I wanted to get back to working on aircraft. So my next set of orders got me here to Lemoore, California, at Strike Fighter Squadron 146. I started working on Super Hornet F-18 aircraft, and that was in 2015. So I got here, and I've been stationed here since then, but I've been at different commands from VFA 146. I transferred out of there in 2019. I went to what's called the CNAT-U. It's the schoolhouse. So basically, like you're in school right now, we send our junior technicians to school to learn how to work on the aircraft, how everything works. So I was an instructor there, got my master training specialists, dealt with curriculum, building the material on how to teach people to work on aircraft. And I was there from 2019 to 22, and then did I left there to go on deployment with VFA 136, where I'm at now, and we deployed to the Mediterranean, so over in Europe, Rome. We've been to England, Spain, France. So that's a really cool part of deployment. And I'm still here. We're getting ready to go on another deployment next week. That's why I won't be able to join you in person, but we're going to be headed back out on the USS Truman next Friday.
Nice. That it sounds like you've had a very exciting career and been able to learn a lot of different skills and be trained in several different areas. And so, my next question for you is what would you say is probably the best part about your military experience? What is something that has just been really great for you?
I would say the best part, and I really kind of hit on it earlier, has been the travel. I mean, the military pays you to travel and see some of the coolest places in the world. Like I
And so
said,
when you travel, I know you were talking about your deployments. Now obviously you have to work, but do you have time to explore and
yeah.
see? Okay.
Usually when we pull into a port, it'll be a visit for 3, 4, 5 days, and then you will have to work maybe one of those days, but the rest of the time you're on what we call liberty,
Okay.
and you're free to roam a certain area. Like you can't, like if we're pulling into say Naples, Italy, you can vacation up to Rome for a few days and see everything there and stay in a hotel or whatever. But you can't just like, hey, we're in Naples. I want to go. to Spain or something like that. You have to take leave for those sort of things. But
Okay.
yeah, that's been the coolest part. Like I said, of all the places I've been, London, Rome, Marseille, France, Croatia, Greece, Dubai, Bahrain, India, Hawaii. It's got me around the world and not stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So obviously with any job, you're gonna have your pros and your cons. And so, what would you say has been the biggest challenge, or what challenges have you experienced with this career path?
Uh, a couple things. One, the biggest pro is sometimes the biggest con if you turn it around. Being gone, separated from family, those loved ones at home. You know, initially when you're starting out, it's fun and it's exciting. You're a single sailor in their early 20s and going out and seeing all these things. But as we grow older and start a family, there's kids at home and you miss birthdays, you miss schools and Christmases and those things. Those are tough. The other thing is with any kind of leadership role, the higher you climb, and the more challenging it gets on a leadership side
Mhm.
because you're having to stay tapped into what you guys are doing as teenagers. And if you join the military at 18, you're bringing all those experiences that to our team. So it's important for us to be able to know like what motivates you to want to do a good job, because no one joins the military to just hang out, and like everyone wants to succeed. So it's how do we get you to succeed in that environment? And it can be challenging, especially for those of us that are getting a little bit older and aren't as tapped into uh, the youth today. I really try to focus on my family as much, and kind of like if I know what my kids are interested in, then I can usually kind of figure out what these guys are interested in. Because I can remember uh, being a young sailor, but that was 2007, 2010, and when I joined, 9/11 happened while I was in high school, and all these young sailors today, a lot of them weren't even born yet. None of you students were born yet when 9/11 happened. So, what is your motivation for joining the Navy?
Mhm. Yeah,
That's an important thing to harness and
yeah,
figure out.
that's so true. A lot of the students that are listening may not be 100% sure what they want to do after they graduate. So, what advice do you have for students that are maybe unsure about their future career plans? What would you say to them?
I would say, first of all, it's okay to be unsure. You're young. Get out there and try different things. Don't be afraid to fail,
Mhm.
um, because you're not gonna always succeed at things in life, and it's not about falling off the horse. It's about getting back on and trying how not to fall off next time.
Mhm.
Uh, like I said, I tried different courses of study in college. I even tried different jobs in the Navy that weren't for me. Um, but yeah, just find something that you enjoy doing that you know can at least put food on the table. I'll say that. But
Yeah.
that was one thing, my dad always taught me growing up. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, go
Mm.
do something else. There are
Yeah.
plenty of opportunities out there. You just have to be able to seek them out.
Yeah, that's so true. And sometimes students may think that they know exactly what they want to do after high school. And I wanted to point something out earlier too. You said you tried out several different jobs, and what a lot of students may not realize is no matter what career path you're interested in, there's probably that job in the military. So I know there's healthcare and, medical and different types of robotics and things like that. Could you kinda speak to the wide, vast, opportunities that are available through the military?
Right. Like, if you are interested in nursing and things like that, there's, our Navy corpsmen that go through their corpsman training. There's also, if you're thinking about going to college and maybe the military is still something for you later down the road in college, if you finish your degree and want to go an officer path, there's even more, Navy doctors, pilots. We have, like I said, aircraft that
Mhm.
fly around, and all the different things that you can do. Um, just in my aviation field alone at this squadron, we have my job that works on uh, the communications equipment. We have AOs that load all the bombs, the ordnance folks. We have electricians that work on, the wiring. We have our mechanics that work on the engines, our structural mechanics that work on like the base of the aircraft, survival equipment men that work on the seats. So even just in my unit alone, there's 15, 20 jobs that are different.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's just endless opportunities. So my last question for you is maybe there are students that are interested in joining the military. What advice would you have for those students that want to pursue a career in the military?
My advice would be to do as much research as you can, find out, like I said, what's that first job that kind of jumps off the page at you. You can just make a list of these are kind of those opportunities.
Mhm.
Um, talk to your local recruiter. They can, have you do the ASVAB and the PT scores with them and see kind of where you fit, because the Navy will have I said keep saying Navy, but any military branch, not just Navy, but um, they'll have those scores that fit into certain jobs, and they might have certain jobs available now versus later.
Mhm.
I would say, yeah, definitely do your research, talk to your recruiter, and if it's something that, hey, you just want to get out and go now, uh, you might have to make that split decision. But at the end of the day, that's your decision. And but if you do have a little bit more time, like I said, kind of do as much research as possible.
Yeah. Well, Shane, it has been so nice to chat with you, and I appreciate you sharing your time with students. And so, are there any last words of wisdom you'd like to leave before we jump off today?
No, thank you. Just go Warriors. I appreciate you having me, April.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.